No one inside the MotoGP paddock was supposed to talk about what happened at Sepang. Not officially. Not yet. Under the crushing Malaysian heat, away from race weekends and TV cameras, Yamaha rolled out something that could redefine its future. A motorcycle that symbolized more than performance. It symbolized desperation, ambition, and a quiet admission that the old ways were no longer enough. And at the center of it all stood one rider. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't a routine private test. And it certainly wasn't just another step in development. Because what Yamaha discovered over those 2 days sent shockwaves through the garage and triggered conversations the paddock wasn't ready to have. The test that was never meant to be normal. From the first morning at Sepang, the atmosphere inside the Yamaha garage felt different. There were no smiles, no relaxed body language, only quiet focus. This test wasn't about lap records. Yamaha's engineers weren't chasing headlines or timing screens. They were chasing answers. Answers to questions that had haunted the manufacturer for years. Could Yamaha finally compete in a V4-dominated era? Had they waited too long? And more importantly, could this rider unlock something others never could? Toprak's schedule was relentless, long runs in brutal heat, repeated acceleration drills, consistency simulations designed to expose weaknesses rather than hide them. Every lap was logged, dissected, and debated. And slowly, something unexpected began to surface. The data didn't just look better. It looked different. A rider who forces Malaysian to adapt. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu has never been an easy rider to engineer for. His braking style defies convention. His corner entry borders on aggressive chaos. And his ability to load the front tire at the absolute limit has broken assumptions in multiple championships. In World SBK, teams learned quickly, you don't ask Toprak to adapt to the bike. You adapt the bike to Toprak. At Sepang, Yamaha faced that same reality. Under hard braking, something clicked. The V4 engine's revised engine braking characteristics allowed the bike to stay composed where previous Yamaha machines would struggle. The chassis held its line. The front end talked back. Corner exits told a similar story. Yamaha's long-standing weakness, drive, was no longer a liability. The power delivery was smoother but more importantly usable. According to insiders, engineers began quietly recalibrating expectations. But as confidence grew, a deeper question emerged. Was this progress sustainable or dangerously fragile? The V4 gamble finally showing its teeth. For Yamaha, the V4 project was never just technical. It was philosophical. For years, Yamaha had defended its inline-4 identity, precision, smoothness, tradition, but MotoGP had moved on and the results told a painful story. This engine was an admission of reality. At Sepang, the V4 finally began to behave the way Yamaha had hoped. Strong mid-range thrust, controlled high-rev performance, less volatility when temperatures spiked. Toprak reportedly felt something Yamaha riders hadn't felt in years, confidence under load. Yet engineers noticed something else. The engine was asking for more aerodynamic support than expected. And Yamaha was ready. When the garage started to feel the heat. By the end of the first day, fatigue was visible everywhere. Mechanics adjusted mappings late into the evening. Engineers debated setup directions quietly, away from microphones. Reliability checks were repeated more often than planned. Sepang doesn't forgive mistakes. And neither does MotoGP. Toprak kept pushing, harder than the test schedule demanded. Late braking runs, full commitment corner entries, simulations that looked more like race laps than testing. Some mechanics reportedly wondered if he was testing the bike or testing Yamaha. Because the next morning, everything escalated. The Aero package that changed the conversation. When the new fairings appeared, the mood shifted instantly. This wasn't a minor update. It was a statement. Tiered winglets, sharper intakes. A completely revised Aero philosophy that many observers called Yamaha's most aggressive move in over a decade. On track, the effect was immediate. Under braking, the bike stayed flatter, more composed, more predictable. The downforce worked with Toprak's style instead of fighting it. Corner exits improved again, wheelies were reduced, acceleration became cleaner. Lap times dropped. Not marginally. Significantly, sources suggested a gain of nearly 4/10 compared to earlier runs, an enormous step for a project still labeled experimental. But then something else caught the paddock's attention. Someone unfamiliar was standing inside the Yamaha garage. The Ducati shadow looms large. The presence didn't go unnoticed. A former Ducati engineer. Inside Yamaha's inner circle. No announcement. No explanation. Just whispers. Yamaha has always been conservative with recruitment, loyal to its internal structure, resistant to radical change, and yet here was a clear sign that those walls were coming down. Speculation spread quickly. Was Yamaha restructuring behind closed doors? Were they borrowing more than just ideas from Ducati's success? And how far were they willing to go? Nothing was confirmed, but the message was unmistakable. Yamaha was done being patient. And someone else was paying close attention. Fabio data and uncomfortable realities. Fabio Quartararo didn't ride that morning. Instead, he watched. Telemetry screens, aero feedback, corner exit traces, the kind of details that reveal more than lap times ever could. At one point, Fabio reportedly offered feedback on the new Aero's behavior under acceleration. His tone wasn't critical. It was curious. Because for the first time in years, Yamaha wasn't asking him to mask weaknesses. They were building something new. 2 Aero concepts were tested. One prioritized downforce and braking stability, the other focused on reduced drag and straight-line speed. Toprak favored the first. Fabio saw value in the second. And suddenly, Yamaha faced a dilemma it hadn't prepared for. One bike, 2 elite riders. 2 fundamentally different approaches. The tension wasn't visible, but it was real. Not an experiment anymore. By the final afternoon, one thing was clear. This was no longer a test project. The V4 wasn't just working. It was evolving fast. Engineers now spoke in terms of integration rather than evaluation. The focus shifted toward durability, race balance, and long-run consistency. Toprak's role had changed too. He wasn't just giving feedback. He was shaping direction. For Yamaha, this test wasn't about 2026 alone. It was about identity, about whether the manufacturer could reclaim relevance in a championship that had moved brutally forward. And for Toprak, it was something even bigger. Proof that he wasn't stepping into MotoGP to adapt quietly. Proof that his style could redefine a project. Proof that this partnership could become something dangerous. The paddock left Sepang unsettled. Because if this trajectory continues, Yamaha's resurgence won't arrive loudly. It will arrive suddenly. And when it does, everyone will remember where it began.